Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the Frontline Changes report for the past 24 hours. So the past day. So we're gonna jump straight into it and not talk too much except telling you if you're having birthday today, happy birthday to you. And we're gonna go on to the Dvorichna front. So Dvorichna front, Sumy front first, sorry, it's the Sumy front. So this is Sumy. I forgot my arrow. So this is Sumy, and over in the north of Sumy, where the Russians are launching the offensive, there is a Russian airstrike off Kindrativka. This Russian airstrike launched by Sukhoi 34s confirmed that the Ukrainian forces may have taken back this tree line here. So because the tree line was attacked, so this one confirms the Ukrainian forces have taken back some part of Kindrativka. So this put into question whether the Russians have full control over Kindrativka right now. But we shall see, because that's an airstrike. So airstrike is a rather dangerous thing to drop near your troops. So we shall see how this go for Kindrativka. So the next frontline change after this area here is over at the Dvorichna front. So over in Kharkiv region and the Dvorichna front, this is Dvorichna. The Russian mapping by Ryba have updated the mapping, the front line around this region here. So there's quite a bit of frontline changes here. So over in Dovhanke, we have they have mapped that both of these forests here has been taken by the Russian forces. So this is Russian claim. This is not confirmed, but this makes sense. This is like a logical development. So the Russian claim that they have taken this forest and established a defense line along here, which, like I said, this is a sensible defense line. So that's mainly it. The advance here along this forest here is 400 meters. The other one is a bit much bigger. There's like 1.2 kilometers. But yeah, not super important because this is pretty logical in terms of where the front line should be, because these are all open ground, as you can see. So over the other side, over in this Kindrashivka region of Zapala and Dvorichna, the Russian mapping have mapped that they have a more advanced control, around here with this forest of Dvorichna. So which means that they can attack into Dvorichna. So this is the Russian version of where are they, and this advance is around 1.6 kilometers. So all these updates, we have no freaking idea when this changes happen. So just take it with a pinch of salt. Anyway, this is a Russian claim, by the way, so just take it with a pinch of salt. The front line they draw is pretty straight. Probably the Russians have more or less a semi-control over the entire highway. And then further south, around Kindrashivka, Malashakivka region. Malashakivka region, the Russian mapping mapped that this entire tree lines and gully region is actually under Russian control. So this is the advance in this sector, which allows them to attack into Malashakivka. So that is the frontline change here. The advance is around 1 kilometer, around there. And the capture or the claim of the control over Kindrashivka is complete, because the Russian Defense Ministry did announce the capture of Kindrashivka on the 30th of May. And so their mapping maps almost the entirety of Kindrashivka, but it's not the entire thing, because the southern part is not under Russian control according to the Russian mapping. And honestly, Ryba is very honest in their mapping. So they have this forest. Previously they already claimed this big forest here, so this is a continuation all the way to the rest of the settlement, which makes sense. The southern part, there is zero indications. There is no intel, no geolocations to show that the Russians have captured this part, which is why the Russian mapping did not update this part as under Russian control. So, and interestingly is that they also, just like DPA, cannot confirm the capture of Radkivka, Mokovka, or Sobolevka. These three settlements in the Russian mapping, in the Rybas mapping, also cannot confirm that this actually is a thing. Like they draw this dotted line arrow, like maybe there's an attack like this. Like maybe they also not sure. They also unclear how this works, and they have this gray zone that stretches all the way here. This is the gray zone. They don't have this part in the Russian mapping. So the gray zone comes from Kindrashivka all the way to Radkivka. So the most they have is Radkivka. They don't really have the Moskovka one or the Sobolevka one. So definitely, even the Russians themselves have no freaking idea how the Russian Defense Ministry, claim these captures around here. So no one knows except the Russian and the Ukrainian commands. The military commands, they will know the truth because they are fighting the war. The troops are on the ground. They more or less know where the enemy is. So let's wait and see and wait for the information to drop. So these are the Russian claims. The next frontline change, we go to the Toretsk front. So over the Toretsk front, this is Toretsk city. In the Zabalka region, the Ukrainian mapping have updated. So this district, this is Zabalka district. They have updated the mapping to show that the Russians have now full control of the entire of Zabalka. So the entire district of Zabalka has finally fallen to the Russians according to the Ukrainian mapping. So this is a pretty significant, but not entirely a surprise because, yeah, this is clearly extremely difficult for the Ukrainians to hold a position here when the Russians have captured most of it, and the rear positions is like one hell of a mess. So reinforcement, resupply is just hazardous. It's just a suicide mission. So these are Zabalka. Nearby over in the Yablunivka, the Ukrainian mapping have updated the map at Yablunivka, showing the Russians have expanded the zone of control a little bit and strengthening the front line at Yablunivka along this north-south road. So Russian forces captured the dachas in the north, some of the fortifications, some tree lines, and along the highway. So the Russian forces expanded here. Is a tremendous surprise Yablunivka holds to this point. So kudos to the Ukrainian forces that is defending over there. They managed to hold the Russians back and not lose this strategically important frontline town in the south of Konstantinivka. So the advance here on the average is probably around 800 meters or 500 meters because this area here is around 500 meters around that. So there's some advance here. As you can see, Konstantinivka is over here. So Yablunivka and Alexandro Kalinove is super important in defending the this southern part of Konstantinivka. If it falls, then the Russians could very well quickly march to blockade Konstantinivka in the south, which is just very uncomfortable. It is not like a massive strategic loss. The massive strategic loss will be the loss of the entire of Konstantinivka, but but in the regional strategic sense, for this part, for let's say if we only look at this part, then strategically that would be a big loss if they lose Yablunivka or Alexandro Kalinove. So after the frontline change here, we go to Novo Ekonomichny. So there is so this one is in the Pokrovsk front of in the Minohrad sector. So we yesterday have this massive chunk of closure based on Russian claims. Part of it is already corroborated by geolocation. So the Russian forces has been geolocated in the south of Novo Ekonomichny, and because this is geolocation means that this is confirmed. So the previous confirmed front line is over here at Marolivivka and Mikhailivka. As such, the Russians most likely have advanced from Mikhailivka up north and into the south of Novo Ekonomichny, which means that this area here is confirmed captured by the Russian forces, which on our mapping means that the Ukrainian mapping will be affected. Previously, these regions are all just Russian claims, so Ukrainian mapping is not affected because for those that do not know, whatever you're looking right here in the map, there's two maps. It's not one map. It's actually two maps. The Ukrainian perspective of what the front line looks like and the Russian perspective of what the front line look like. But both mapping will be changed by geolocation because there is a definite indication of presence of the troops. So with this, then we this impossible salient just got longer. So now if this is accurate, then this impossible salient just got like really long, like hideously long. So this is definitely something wrong somewhere here. This is only a Russian claim, which is why, you know, we still have to wait for the corroboration from some kind of a geolocation or Ukrainian mapping. The advance from Mikhailivka is around 2.7 kilometers in a straight line. So if it's not a straight line, it's probably much longer. Let's say if we go along the road, go up the road, it's around 2.67 kilometers. So the speed of the advance is pretty fast. May or may not, the Ukrainians may or may not have retreated without a fight, because we do not know what's the scale of the time that this frontline change have happened. But if it's just a 1 or 2 day, then the Ukrainians hardly defended. They may have abandoned position. But let's wait for the next frontline change to see whether there's further advancement in Novo Azov. If there is more, then we will be able to ascertain what is the serious situation over in this sector, whether the Ukrainians actually defend at all. But definitely things are looking really bad as the Russians now, you know, is about to close down and establish the war on the eastern part of Minohrad. The next frontline change after this is over at Zaporizhzhia, over at the Komar front. So this is Komar, and in the north of Komar is the tiny Zaporizhzhia, not the big Zaporizhzhia city. This is a tiny one, and the Ukrainian mapping have closed down one of the impossible salient. This change here, this is mapped by the Ukrainian mapping. So they have the impossible salient here. They basically considered that this area here is taken by the Russian forces, closing and straightening the front line as it should be. So impossible salient eliminated by the Ukrainian mapping. So this is Deep State UA's mapping, and then we have one last frontline change is over at Kamyanske in the Zaporizhzhia front. So this is the big Zaporizhzhia, and over at Kamyanske, we have updates. So this is Kamyanske, this is Plavny, and over in the south of Plavny, I believe this is still part of Kamyanske. The Russian forces, according to the Ukrainian mapping by Deep State UA, have established and expanded the bridgehead over in this western part of the city. So Russian forces storm up around this area and establish a very strong bridgehead, linking up with the forces coming on the east. So this is a massive advance. The advance is around 500 meters, 600 meters. I mean, some may say that no, 600 meters is not massive, but in the frontline city at Zaporizhzhia, I find this very big, you know, because this is a very heavily defended place. So any advance in this sector is massive to me, you know. Yeah, I like to abuse the word massive because you guys are suckers for that word as well. So no, you can't blame it. I put massive on the title, you click it, it works, right? So yeah, no. So anyway, that's it. So we're going to do some calculation in terms of the frontline changes. Use this as the background. So the total area captured by the Ukrainians is 1.1 square kilometers. There is the tree line that got airstrike by the Russian forces. For the Russians, in the past 24 hours, let's count. 8.96 plus 2.08 plus 3.34 plus 2.85 plus 0.65. So total area captured is 17.88 square kilometers. Around 2.2 square kilometers of 20 square kilometers, but still respectable and quite a big amount. So anyway, the biggest is actually Dvorichna front, where we have the intel drop from the Russian mapping, updating the latest front line from the Russian perspective. It could have been bigger if the west of Kupiansk, the flanking operation can be verified, but we can't verify it yet. Even the Russians themselves, the pro-Russian open source intelligence, don't even dare to map it because they don't even know how that works. So anyway, that's it. So thank you for watching, and we are going for 100,000 subs, so subscribe, help us get there. If we get there, we achieve this together. It's not just me, it's together as a community. So thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next update.